So when we left off last week, Bat was trying to convince his mom to let him take care of the baby skunk Kit like through the night, and she made an agreement with him that he could take care of the skunk Kit during the day when he was home from school, but she would take care of him at night. So here we are after he was supposed to go to bed. Chapter 15, Dr. Jerry Dragoo. Later in his room, when he was supposed to be sleeping, Bat climbed out of bed and pulled his animal encyclopedia from the shelf. He flipped to the S section and found the page labeled Skunk. At the top of the page was a glossy picture of a large black and white skunk nosing along a patch of dirt. In the background of the picture were hundreds of white and yellow daisies. Below the picture were a bunch of questions and answers about skunks. Why do skunks spray? Skunks spray an oily liquid from glands underneath their tails as a defense. Their spray doesn't cause any real damage, but boy is it stinky. A skunk smell can be detected by a human from a mile away. Where do skunks live? Skunks can make many places their home. Abandoned burrows constructed by other animals, a hollow log, even underneath your house. What are skunks' predators? Lots of animals, including red foxes, coyotes, and domestic dogs, will attack a skunk if they get hungry enough, though only as a last resort, because it's difficult to attack a skunk without a smelly reminder of it. But aerial predators, large birds like owls, don't care so much about the scent. For one thing, it's hard for a skunk to spray at an attacker from the sky. For another, many birds of prey have little to no sense of smell. Finally, Bat got to the last and most important question. Do skunks make good pets? Skunks are wild animals, and wild animals belong in the wild. But according to the world skunk expert Dr. Jerry Dragoo, head of the Dragoo Institute for the Betterment of Skunks and Skunk Reputations, while skunks in general do not make good pets, what makes a good pet is a good pet caretaker. Bat closed the book. He put it back on the shelf, right where he always put it, next to his Lego pyramid. Dr. Jerry Dragoo, world skunk expert. Bat liked that name. He liked doctors because they usually knew lots of useful things. He liked the name Jerry because it was the same as that funny mouse in the old cartoons, the one who always outsmarted the cat. And Dragoo reminded him of a dragon. Of course, there was probably no such thing as dragons, but there might be. Dr. Jerry Dragoo, that was someone Bat would like to meet. Chapter 16, A Correspondence. The next day, when it was time for recess, Israel stopped at Bat's desk instead of going outside with the rest of the class and asked, "Hey, Bat, do you want to play Foursquare or something?" "No," said Bat. He was still sitting at his desk. "No, you don't want to play Foursquare?" "No, I don't want to play anything," Bat answered. All the other kids had left the classroom, and Bat really wanted Israel to leave too so that he could talk to Mr. Grayson in private. But Israel kept standing there like he was waiting for something. "Well, do you want to go outside and just not play anything?" "No," Bat said, "I don't." Israel stood next to the desk for a moment longer, sort of smiling like he was waiting for Bat to say something more. But what could he be waiting for Bat to say? In his head, Bat ran through the list of things that he was supposed to remember to say to people. "Excuse me, I'm sorry, please, may I? Thank you." "Thank you," Bat said. Okay, said Israel, and he shrugged, and then finally he left. After Israel had gone, Bat went up to Mr. Grayson's desk. Mr. Grayson had a stack of their current events assignments in front of him, and he was making comments on each one in a green felt-tipped pen. "Mr. Grayson," Bat said, "I need your help." Mr. Grayson put the cap on his pen and set it down. "I'm all ears," he said. That was a funny expression, and for a second Bat pictured Mr. Grayson made entirely of ears, with ears for eyes and an ear for a nose and two tiny rows of little ears for teeth. "Well," said Bat, "let me tell you about Thor." And then Bat told Mr. Grayson everything about the skunk Kit, about how Mom had brought him home after his mother had died, about how he drank puppy formula because there is no skunk formula, about how he went to the bathroom, and how he needed to eat every 2 hours, and how when Mom first brought him home he was almost all pink, but now his black fur was starting to grow in, and most of all, how Bat loved him. "He sounds pretty great," Mr. Grayson said. "Yes," said Bat, "he is more than pretty great. He is all the way great. So how can I help you, Bat?" "There's a world skunk expert named Dr. Jerry Dragoo, and I want to ask his advice about something. It's important." "Okay," said Mr. Grayson. He pushed the stack of papers to one side and pulled his laptop from his satchel. He opened it and logged on. That was one of the great things about Mr. Grayson. If you said you needed help, he just helped without a lot of annoying questions. "There's only one Dr. Jerry Dragoo," said Mr. Grayson. "He's a professor at the university." "We can write him an email if you want. That's his email address right there." Could it really be that easy? Could Bat really just write to the skunk expert? Bat liked to send emails. He sent emails every month to his grandmother, who lived in Idaho, because he hated talking on the phone. Emails gave you time to think. "Okay," said Bat. "What do you want it to say? I can type for you." Mr. Grayson clicked on his email icon and typed in the address. "That's all right," said Bat. "I like to type." Mr. Grayson let Bat sit in his chair. Bat typed, "Dear Dr. Jerry Dragoo." Mr. Grayson said, "You can just write Dear Dr. Dragoo. People don't usually use a person's first and last name when they start a letter. People don't usually have a name as cool as Dr. Jerry Dragoo," Bat said. Mr. Grayson laughed. "Can't argue with that." Bat went on. "My mom brought home a baby skunk. She is a vet, and she had to help him be born. His mother died, but she didn't have any diseases, and neither does he. His name is Thor. I want to keep him as a pet because I know I can be a good pet caretaker. Even if I can't keep him forever, I want to at least keep him until he goes back home to the wild, not give him to the skunk rescue people. Please write back and say I can, so I can tell my mom that a world skunk expert says yes. Then she will probably let me keep him." "Is that okay?" Bat asked. Mr. Grayson didn't answer right away, so Bat turned to look at him. Mr. Grayson's face was squinched up like he was trying not to laugh. Or maybe he was going to cry. "Mr. Grayson?" Bat asked. "What's wrong?" "Nothing is wrong, Bat. That's a very nice email. I will be interested to hear what Dr. Dragoo says." "Me too," said Bat. At the end of the email he typed, "Sincerely, Bixby Alexander Tam. People call me Bat." Chapter 17. At the Clinic. Bat loved going to Mom's veterinary clinic. If it were up to him, he would go with her every time she had to work late, instead of staying home with Janie. But Mom said that as much as she loved having Bat at work with her, all his questions sometimes kept the vet techs from doing their jobs. Bat tried not to ask so many questions, but there were so many interesting things to ask questions about. "Today, you can help Lawrence with bats," Mom told Bat as she drove him the 3 miles from the Saw-Whet School to the small brick building marked Valerie Tam, DVM. Janie was always trying to get Mom to rename her veterinary clinic something else. "Something fun," she said, "something creative." So far, she had suggested the Furry Friends Clinic, Pause for a Moment Veterinarian, Nose to Tail and everything in between, and her favorite, the Pospital. But Bat liked seeing Mom's name on the side of the building. It was like she was a celebrity. "I'm good at bats," Bat said. "Yes," said Mom, "you are." When he pulled open the heavy glass door at the front of the brick building, Bat was overwhelmed by smells and sounds. The lavender peppermint spray they used to clean up pet accidents, the wet dog scent of shampooing going on in the back room, barking, 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 a phone ringing, people talking, a cat's yowl. If there were this much ruckus at school or the playground or anywhere else at all, Bat would definitely need his earmuffs. But here, the sounds and the smells didn't bother him. Even the flickering fluorescent light didn't irritate him very much. Suzanne stood behind the counter, running a lady's credit card through the machine with one hand while she answered the ringing phone with the other. "Dr. Tam's office," she said, waving hello at Bat as he walked by. He waved back, but he didn't say anything because he didn't want to bother her. It used to be that he didn't notice if people were busy with other things, but he was way better now. At least, he usually was. An old lady, old like a grandmother, sat on the bench in the waiting room. She held a box on her lap. Bat stopped in front of her. "What kind of animal do you have in that box?" "It's my cat, Pickles," the lady said. He's not feeling 100%. What are his symptoms? Bat asked. Are you the veterinarian? The lady asked. No, said Bat, not yet. Ah, said the lady. Well, he has indigestion, and he hasn't been very hungry lately. There are lots of things that could be, Bat. Bat looked up at his mom, who stood there next to him listening. She shrugged. I'll have to examine Pickles to know what's wrong, she said. Then she turned to the lady. I'll see you and Pickles in just a minute or two. I hope Pickles feels better soon, Bat said. Then he followed Mom through the door that separated the waiting room from the back and watched as she took her white coat from its hook. She put it on, and then Mom was Dr. Tam, a veterinarian, better than a superhero. One day, Bat would also have a jacket just like Mom's. It would be white, and it would have 5 buttons, and it would have the words Dr. Tam, DVM, embroidered just above his heart. Of this, Bat was 99.9% sure, because that was as sure as you could be about anything. I've got to go see patients, Mom said. You stay close to Lawrence and be a help, okay? Hey, Bat Boy, what's up? Lawrence was the only person who called Bat Bat Boy. Mom rescued a skunk kit, and we're raising it. She says we have to give him to a rescue in a month. Well, 3 weeks now, but I'm going to change her mind. We named him Thor, Bat said. Lawrence laughed. I know all about the kit, he said. Who do you think is taking care of him while you're at school? You are, said Bat. Are you doing a good job? Lawrence rumpled Bat's hair, and Bat smoothed it down again. Of course I'm doing a good job, Lawrence said. It's the only kind of job I know how to do. Look! He reached into the neck of his shirt and pulled out the strangest necklace Bat had ever seen. It was made of a t-shirt material and ended in a little pouch just big enough for cradling a skunk kit. Is Thor in there? Bat asked. Lawrence nodded. Yep, the little guy seemed kind of lonely in the kennel, so I made a sling for him out of one of my old t-shirts last night. See? Snug as a bug in a rug. Lawrence opened the pouch so Bat could see inside. There was Thor, curled into a little sleeping ball. Can I wear him? Bat asked. Of course. We don't want him to get wet when I'm washing the dogs. Here. Very carefully, Lawrence pulled the sling up over his head and then lowered it over Bat's. But the sling, which had barely reached Lawrence's chest, sank all the way to Bat's belly button. We can fix that, said Lawrence, and he looped the fabric into a knot behind Bat's neck to shorten the sling. There, he said. Now you're a marsupial, Bat. There are no marsupial bats, Bat said. Marsupial infants need to have strong arms and claws to climb into their mother's pouches. Bats have wings. Bat peered into the pouch to see if Thor had been disturbed by the movement, but the kit was still fast asleep. He's got more fur than he had this morning, Bat said. I can see the black and white growing in. They grow up so fast, Lawrence said. You seem bigger than last time I saw you, too. Not you, said Bat, closing up the pouch and tucking it into his shirt. You're already all the way big. Lawrence grinned. If I get any bigger, I'll have to buy special order shoes. I already wear the biggest size the shoe store sells. Good thing you're too old to grow, Bat said. Good thing indeed, said Lawrence. Then he said, Thor is a great name. Bat, did you come up with it? No, said Bat. Janie did. You're a lucky kid to have such a creative sister, Lawrence said. Did you thank her? No, said Bat, not yet. Well, there will be time for that later, Lawrence said. How about assisting me with some bats? Usually Bat would do just about anything to help Lawrence with bats, but now, with Thor in the sling, curled up and asleep, I don't know, Bat said. Don't worry about the kit. Lawrence said, you can wear an apron, and I'll do all the soapy stuff. Lawrence draped a green apron around Bat's neck. Bat tried to make sure it wasn't pressing too tight against the sling as Lawrence tied the waist strap. All good? Lawrence asked. I can't tell if Thor is still breathing, Bat said. Maybe it's too tight. Lawrence untied the strap, and Bat took off the apron. He pulled open the sling and peered inside. There was Thor, still tightly curled into a little ball, still fast asleep. He's okay, sighed Bat. Lawrence patted Bat's shoulder. Maybe you can just keep me company today. How does that sound, Bat Boy? We're going to have to end on that page because my recording will run out.